Hey guys, what's up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. So today, as per usual, let's go over Tesla, let's go over the market, and let's figure out what the hell happened today in the market, what we can expect moving forward, and all of that good stuff. So as usual, if you enjoyed this video, find it useful, helpful, informative, whatever, then don't forget to hit that like button. This is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. And of course, if you find these kind of videos informative, useful, whatever, make sure you check out to, or at least consider joining the membership section. The link is down below for just $2.99 a month, where I share this kind of information, but pretty much live as it's happening right then and there. You get a first come first serve essentially. As I see it, and I constantly share that with my members. Again, just $3 a month, right? It's not too much. So again, if you're interested, the link is down below. If not, let's just jump into it. Tesla closing the day, unfortunately, down about 3.5%, closing at just actually above $180 per share, which obviously compared to the market is an underperformance, right? So Tesla just kind of doing its own thing regardless of what the market is doing. The market did have a bit of a red day today, but recovered the vast majority of it. So we're kind of all over the place. I think a lot of people got very excited on this drop in the market because a lot of people are waiting for the market to correct, kind of myself included. I wouldn't say I'm like necessarily waiting for it to correct, but I'm definitely kind of somewhat expecting it to correct, if that makes sense. But let's just jump over to Tesla. Now, before we really dive into Tesla chart here, let's not forget Nvidia earnings is right around the corner. It's like literally, I don't know, any minute now, I guess. I'm not really sure when, but sometime right now is coming out. We'll see what happens there. Personally, I'm expecting a stock split for Nvidia, and I also, it can affect Tesla positively or negatively, who knows, really, with however it decides to do on earnings. We'll see how it actually affects Tesla, if at all. But just keep that in mind as like a potential caveat, if you will. But jumping into Tesla itself, let's talk about what the hell just happened here. So we had a massive rally yesterday, as I'm sure we're all quite aware. And then I talked yesterday about how we're just extremely overbought on the shorter timeframes. The daily wasn't necessarily overbought just yet, maybe slightly, of course, right? But the shorter timeframes, like we talked about the 4 hour, and especially the shorter and shorter we were just substantially overbought. And people were saying like, oh wow, Tesla has one green day, now it's considered overbought. I mean, yeah, when that one green day is like 7%, yes it is, right? That's just kind of how things work. Now, it doesn't mean it had to correct here, right? It's just the chances of it correcting like this, pretty much what it is today, was, in my opinion, just much higher. And that's exactly what happened, right? And that's exactly what I warned about yesterday. I wouldn't be surprised to see a somewhat short of a term-ish correction. Now, so we did that. We came down. And now the thing that's interesting is, so if we go back to the daily chart, you can see we didn't really revert back to the mean on the daily chart. That is a bit closer to like 175/176. But if we go over to, like, say, the 1 hour chart, you can see here we did revert back to the mean. We pretty much, we're no longer overbought. We're now back to like, not overbought, but not oversold, but still technically a little bit bullish here because we're above that white line. We closed above that white line. The 2 hour looks a little bit more cleaner. You can see almost a perfection of a balance. 3 hour, almost a full retrace as well. So, consider this to be, the stock to have, reset essentially, right? Consider the stock reset, which is good. So it's no longer overbought, right? Which is, leaves room now to continue potentially upwards. So we'll talk about that soon as well. Now, obviously yesterday we had this ascending triangle that, we broke out of, and we had this massive rally, which we rejected out, which we'll talk about soon. And then we came back down today, and we pretty much retested this ascending triangle breakout, which I will now essentially remove because we kind of get the idea. But if we go over to the 4 hour chart, it gives us a little bit of a better, kind of cleaner idea here, in the sense that, it's just this area, this pretty much like 179, ish area, just how important it is, right? You can see way back here, right? We acted as a support, several candles. Like, this is, of course, our 4 hour candles, right? So each 2 candles equals a day, essentially. But, it's just many times it just constantly acted as a support, constantly finding buyers, essentially, right? Constantly finding demand down over here around 179-ish, right? Give or take, of course. And then we, of course, broke down, came back up, and then we constantly got rejected. Now it turned back into a resistance, just a typical support resistance, or most people you'll see on like Twitter, X, call it S/R flip, support/resistance flip, right? And we flipped it into resistance. And then we, once again, on higher volume, broke right through it. And what do we do today? We did the exact same thing. We came back down, turned this area that was a support, turned into a resistance on a breakdown, and now we broke back above and turned this area once again back into a support. Just very textbook, very classic support resistance flip, as we're kind of just dancing around this general area. Now, what can we kind of, get an idea from here? Well, now that Tesla stock has officially, reset essentially on those smaller timeframes, still a little bit more work, if you will, on the daily chart, right, on this indicator. But, if we just go sideways for a couple more days, it'll kind of meet us somewhere close enough. So it's good enough, in my opinion, But the way I look at it is this. So on the daily chart, let's look at the daily chart really quickly. So one thing to note is the fact that I'm going to remove this bull flag here. We already played that out essentially with the smaller one. There's another one I'll talk about soon that's potentially more enticing. But on top of yesterday, where we rejected at the 100-day moving average, right, almost to perfection, what did we also reject at? Well, if you took a trend line from this recent high over here, not recent, like, I mean, not that recent, but somewhat recent-ish, if you will, high all the way back here on December of last year, you know, this is where that top started, right? And this is where we really started this downtrend once again, right? That we've been in for, you know, this medium-term duration now, right? Well, if we take that and we combine it, rather touch the top of the wick that we had not too long ago off of that double, you know, earnings plus that, I think FSD China news, there was that gapless up over here. Combine those 2 weeks, or rather touch those 2 weeks with this trend line, and that's exactly what we also rejected at just yesterday, almost to perfection. Pretty much, you couldn't have asked for better. Not really rejection necessarily, because the candle was pretty much closed at the top of the day, but based on the gap down that we had today, you can argue it pretty much rejected, right? So it did it almost perfection, right? Absolute perfection, right at that trend line, right at that 100-day moving average. So what does that mean? Well, we want to break above this trend line. And what is that going to bring us to? Well, pretty much above 185, really, to make it simple and make it safe. If we break above 185, thumbs up, the bullish side, in my opinion, starts taking over. In my opinion, if we break 185 again, anytime this week, next week, I'm pretty confident that, you know, 200, 205, you know, it's next. It's probably next. Like I really do expect it to happen if 185 happens to break once again and we close the daily candle above 185. Now that this trend line is of course descending, so the, you know, the level to break naturally gets a little bit lower and lower each passing day. So that's important to understand. Now, moving forward, right? Go to the 4-hour chart. What do we see on the 4-hour chart? Let's go ahead and get rid of this 100-day moving average, right? Well, similar, a bull pennant, essentially. We had a bull flag that we played out already, right? But now we have what looks to be a potential bull pennant. Massive, massive rally up. We have touch points. So we have touch point 1, 2, 3. Pretty much got touch point 4 very close today. Maybe we'll get it more as we just continue sideways. There's a chance that we get touch point 4 as we just continue sideways here potentially. Maybe like, you know, Friday, maybe Monday, we get touch point 4, which, you know, if we go sideways, we'll pretty much make it just about what, that 178 level. Hard to say for sure. But regardless, the way I look at it is, well, we're setting up another bull pennant, excuse me, this time. So what does that mean moving forward? Well, that means something, thankfully, pretty simple. In order to play out this bull pennant, which, by the way, just because it's called a bull pennant, it doesn't mean it will play out to that bullish side. In my opinion, the likelihood is higher that it does. But as I'm sure you all know, and as I always say, nothing is guaranteed. Absolutely nothing is guaranteed, and nothing is guaranteed 100%. So if you think this is 100% going to play out to the top side and, you know, we run to 205, you're delusional. It is a higher likelihood, but it's absolutely not 100%. So with that being said, let's take a look at the levels. If we break above, like I said, this green line up here for this bull pennant, very similar compared to the one I just showed you on the daily chart. It's pretty much the exact same idea, right? If we break to the top side here, pretty much 185, fantastic. The bulls win, we move higher. Great. However, if we break to the downside and if we start losing this bottom trend line right here, which is the bottom of this bull pennant, right? Which anytime this week, tomorrow, or like this week, maybe even Monday, pretty much like 176 to 177, maybe 175 if you want to really give it some wiggle room. That rough like $2-ish price range is what I would be looking out for to hold and not to break. For the bulls at least, and the bears obviously want to break it. So that's kind of the simple way I would look at it. And if this does play out, if this does play out to the bullish fashion, I personally would expect something like this. We get a rally up to about that 200 to 105 level, probably reject, come back down a little bit, somewhere around here, find support, and then make our way even higher, which of course will happen sometime towards June, which will be really cool to see, because the apex of this bull pennant actually can last for the majority of this month, believe it or not. Like, this doesn't have to play out until the majority of this month is actually finished. This can take until like the midway of next week, and then it'll just set up a phenomenal bullish rally for June. And why does that matter? Why am I constantly saying June? Well, because if I log into my trend spotter here, which has a nice little seasonality chart, you can see here Tesla 10 years. What is the best month that you see right here, right now on Tesla historically? It doesn't mean it has to be this time, but historically, what has been by far the best month, the best performing month for bulls, for Tesla, or on Tesla? June, by far. And it's not even close. I mean, the next one is probably November, but June is like pretty damn well above almost every single other month for being just really the best month for Tesla. So keep that in mind, right? It's important to understand moving forward. Tesla has a phenomenal June almost always, not always, but almost always, right? So keep that in mind. I mean, again, this could be the outlier. This could be that, 20%, if you will, but more often than not, if you're a betting man, odds are in your favor. It's just, it is what it is, right? It is what it is. But that's kind of the main way I'm looking at it. Options flow, let's take a quick look at options flow, right? A lot of options came in here and there all over the place, but the ones that really stood out to me was this pretty much 2 million put that came in, 175 put for July 19th. A little bit concerning, I'm not gonna lie. It came in at 179 and a half dollars per share, essentially, when Tesla was trading at that level. So a little bit concerning. We'll see if that actually amounts to anything. You never know. Again, we don't know the full story. This could be a hedge. Easily could be a hedge. We don't know the full story. So that's why it's hard to just take a look at this and be like, Tesla's going down for sure. It could, absolutely. But again, could be a hedge. You never know. Maybe they exited. Maybe they're just wrong. You never know, right? Keep that in mind. And then, we had some weekly puts come in over here before the market closed. Maybe people expect Nvidia to tank Tesla along with it. Who knows for sure? But yeah, all in all, that's kind of the main way I'm looking at it and what I am seeing right now moving forward. So with all that being said and done, ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button. Thank you all so much for watching. Again, if you find these videos useful and informative and you want pretty much more of this information and especially up-to-date information and shared as the stock is trading and as I see it, well, that's exactly what I do in my members section for just $3 a month. So all that being said, thanks for watching and I'll see you for the next one. Peace.